I still remember it like it was yesterday. PlayStation's disastrous launch of Concord. This was supposed to be their next big live service multiplayer game, but it just ended up being an absolute failure. I think what it really was, more than anything, was just PlayStation being a little bit too late to the game, especially trying to come out with a new hero shooter in an overly saturated market. When you have so many games out there, it just didn't do anything to stand out. And next thing you know, a few months later, we get Marvel Rivals, and it proves that you can still try to make a hero shooter that can stand out, that can be unique, and does things a little bit differently, and also is fun to play. Because Concord just seemed like a game that wasn't fun to begin with, and that's why it only sold 20,000 copies, worldwide. And as Sony had to refund everybody. The negative reception was absolutely out of the water, and they ended up even shutting down the studio. I wish all the best to the developers who ended up having to leave that studio. I know they've worked a lot of years on that project, but it just seems like there was an oversight of some kind. And it seems now, once again, the latest shakeup over at PlayStation is a clear sign that things aren't going according to plan with their ambitious push for live service games. The multiplayer heist shooter called Fairgame, there's a trailer that was promoted a while back, being developed by Haven Studios, has reportedly been delayed to 2026. It's actually supposed to be out this year, but it doesn't seem to be the case. This move comes after what looks like a rough external test phase, raising internal concerns about its direction. On top of that, the head of Haven Studios, Jade Raymond, is leaving the company entirely. Crazy. Apparently she's a veteran in the industry with a long history that includes working on Assassin's Creed and EA Motive, so her departure adds another layer of uncertainty about this project. And last time we got to see Fairgame, it was first revealed during 2023 on the PlayStation Showcase, and it was really, didn't show all that much. It was all cinematics, and I've come to a point now as a gamer, as a consumer, if I only see cinematic trailers for video games and no gameplay whatsoever, I really don't give it all that much attention. Until I see the gameplay, I don't say anything. I don't really give it any merit. That's just how it is. And so, when we look at Fairgame, the idea behind it's a heist multiplayer. It's a mix of Robin Hood meets Payday 2, but with something a little bit more modern, and being a live service, you can imagine how that's going to be. The game was always something of a gamble, honestly, especially since Haven Studios was a new team that was formed by ex-Google Stadia developers who were picked up by Sony in 2022. And if we already know, Google Stadia was already a failure. And so this was Sony's attempt to try to resurrect that ambition. But now, Fairgame being delayed and now the head of the studio gone, it's clear that things aren't going as smoothly as PlayStation might have hoped. Honestly, their entire plan of making live service games has fell apart completely. Besides the one success story, that being Helldivers 2, everything else has been a failure. Concord, failure. Spider-Man The Great Web, yes, there was going to be a Spider-Man multiplayer, canceled. The Last of Us multiplayer, canceled. A God of War live service, canceled. And there's even more unannounced live service games that have been just completely abolished by PlayStation at this point. And it feels like their entire strategy's in disarray, What makes this even more worrying is that Sony's pushing hard to make live service games a cornerstone of its future, but its execution is just completely off. The company had made it clear that it wants to shift away from just making single-player games, but at the same time, when they have so many repeated failures, cancellations, and now a delay for this game, it started to look like their vision for live service games could be coming to an end closer than they have realized, And if these projects continue to fall apart, Sony might just face some actual, some serious issues down the line. Their core fan base is built on, single player narratives. I mean, that's kind of how that's how the PlayStation 4 and then now with the PS5, it's kind of always just been the general gist of what people like about PlayStation. And, to take a different kind of commitment and try to find success there, it's fine. You can do that. But it's the execution of it that has been such a struggle for PlayStation for some reason. And it's tough to imagine what's going to happen next, I mean, we're hearing a delay, and I wouldn't be surprised if I hear a cancellation. And in a weird way, if that does happen, I think generally the gamers out there just wouldn't care. They wouldn't care. PlayStation's live service saga still continues to be a bit of a baffling thing to witness, especially from a company that has a legacy of such great games in its roster, but they just refuse to go back and bring in some classics like the Resistance series, the Killzone series. Think about that. But no, we need a multiplayer heist game, just like everything else out there, right? Well, let's see what happens in the near future, and perhaps I'm saying if it gets canceled, I'm saying I called it. So let's see how that goes. We're gonna take a short break. We'll be right back with more news and highlights from the world of entertainment right here on the Evening Buzz. Stay tuned.